right, guys, welcome back to another Meet the Candidate. Tonight's candidate is Judith Pickering. She is the candidate for the National Council Seat A in the McIntosh District. Ms. Pickering, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
I guess to start off with, why don't you tell us, a little bit about yourself and why you're running for this seat?
Okay. Let's let you know that part of who I am is my clan is Mvskoke, which is raccoon. I belong to the tribal town Eufaula Canadian, and I do attend the West Eufaula Indian Baptist Church here in Eufaula. And I do have a associate's degree from Eastern Oklahoma State College in Wilburton, and also a Bachelor of Science degree from the Northeastern State University in Tahlequah. And I'm currently retired, and I have served 23 years with the tribal nation, and majority of that was with our tribal health division at the Eufaula Clinic.
Okay, so why are you running for this particular seat at this particular time?
I've always been the type of person that would like to be involved in our communities with our tribal people, that there's a lot of needs throughout our communities in our tribal reservation. And I want to be able to help wherever I can, not just a certain group, but for all tribal citizens. I have that compassion to be able to lend an ear, be a voice for our tribal people.
Okay, and I want to remind the audience, if you guys have questions, just pop them into the YouTube chat there and we'll get them asked. Ms. Pickering, what do you think are the major issues at the tribe right now? And, do you have any legislation that you're going to propose if you're elected to address these issues?
I think if elected, I would have to just kind of review what's been taking place currently. But my major concern is our sovereignty. With the Mvskoke Case ruling, we feel like that adds more power to our nation to address a lot of issues that involves our reservation status. And I feel like that we need to be advancing and protecting that sovereignty that, we've always had it. But here, within the past 3 years, it's been nationally known that we are on a reservation.
Okay. We've had a question pop up here while we were talking. T.Y. Pearl asks, do you support Cherokee citizen Wes No Fire serving as Governor Stitt's tribal liaison?
No, I do not support him as our tribal liaison.
All right. We might as well go ahead. I'm going to ask some questions that have been asked in previous forums about support and don't support. What about the MCNAG? If she comes up for reconfirmation, are you going to vote to reconfirm her or not?
Yes.
All right. How about legislation that would expand services for citizens outside of the jurisdiction, or maybe build some new community centers, maybe a community center in California, those type of things? What's your opinion on those?
Well, that's one of the things that one of my platform is advocating for all tribal citizens, whether they're on our reservation or outside. And I had been thinking about the same lines about maybe like the California area. I know Texas, they have a group that's already established there. And if it's possible that we have to look at all the avenues and the programs that maybe they would want to have in their area, that's something I would really take seriously in looking into. If there's already a group established there outside of our reservation, to me, it'd be, since they're already established, that we could maybe come up with a plan to be able to maybe provide some type of funding to be able to, the communities to have that resource to help individuals in their communities. And I'm very supportive of that. That's one of my platforms of helping all tribal citizens, whether on the reservation or outside.
Okay. Do you think that citizens outside of the reservation, are they getting enough services, or do we need to help them more?
Well, myself, I like to hear from different individuals so I know basically what type of needs they are in need of at this time. I know I don't know, I have to look at all the programs, the at-large area. I know there's funding available, but I'll have to really look into that to check. And I like to hear from the individuals themselves from these outside their reservation to just exactly see what needs they have and just take it from there. So I could basically just try to come up with some legislation, maybe for some funding, like I said earlier, to help.
Alrighty. We've had a question pop up here. T.Y. Pearl asks, what is your position on the Porch Band?
The Porch Band, you know, on my part, they've always been a part of the tribal nation. And I know that they have grown in the past year. Not really being involved with that part of it, honestly. I just want to say I know they were part of the Creek Confederacy at one time, but the issues that are taking place with the Porch Band, I'm aware of the ground that a particular, I guess the casino was built on. I know there's an issue there, and any time that our sacred sites are been disturbed, you know, that's something that I feel like that needs to be made aware, and action needs to be taken on that, because that's a sacred place, and that's the only thing that I'm aware about the Porch Band. But the issue that was taking place on I think the casino that was built.
Okay. T.Y. Pearl asks, what is your position on state-recognized tribes, pretendians, and defendianism?
Repeat that again.
What is your position on state-recognized tribes, pretendians, and defendianism?
I guess I really have never thought about that. As all Indian tribes, you know, we're all one. I see them as one. And as tribal nations throughout the state, you know, we're here to support one another whenever it needs to be, and to be able to work together as nation to nation. And that's the only way that we can strengthen our power as tribes in the state of Oklahoma for us. You know, we have a governor right now that is making it difficult for the tribal nations with compacts and this and that. But hopefully I'm answering this question correctly. But as tribes, you know, we need to unite as one.
Okay. T.Y. Pearl asks, do you support making Council Oak Park a U.S. and Mvskoke National Monument?
That would be something that would be, I feel like that it is necessary that we be recognized for a lot of the areas here in Oklahoma. We have a lot of historical sites that have never been recognized, and I do support to any area that we, you know, it was established maybe 100 years ago. We still need to recognize that as a historical site, because there was a reason for that site to be placed and to be recognized today. But we need to preserve that all areas of our tribal nations here in Oklahoma. I know that there's not too many areas here in Oklahoma that is recognized even through the Oklahoma State Historical Society.
Okay. Blue asks, what are your thoughts on the Friedman case?
The Friedman case, you know, our Constitution states that we have to provide documentation that we are has blood quantum. And you know, I'm not prejudiced, and I go along with what needs to be done. But on the Friedman case, you know, our Constitution states that we have to verify our blood quantum, and until that's, if it's ever resolved to state otherwise in our Constitution. I have to abide by that until it changes. But like I said, I'm not prejudiced in any way. And if it's possible that, if it comes down to Friedman would be part of the tribe, I believe that we can work on a plan for them. But until then, until the Constitution, it changes, that's basically where I stand.
Okay. One of the other questions that's come up in previous Meet the Candidates was the ethics on the council and whether there is enough being done there to enforce ethics rules, or do there need to be new ethics rules? What's your opinion on that?
Seriously, as a councilman, we represent the people, and we are leaders of the nation, and we need to reflect that in our character, whether publicly or privately. And I do feel like that we're lax on this, on our councilman's behavior, conduct. I'm all for enforcing that, because we elect these individuals as our leaders and to be our representatives. So I feel like we really need to be stern on that, to uphold our office, because the people have selected us to serve.
All right. We've had a question pop up here. T.Y. Prohl asks, do you support increasing the natural disaster assistance amount to adjust for inflation?
Yes, very much. Since COVID has hit, a lot of things have gone up. Material and buildings, a lot of people probably in a lot of these fires, lumber and metal and all that increased, groceries that increased. I'm agreeable to increase that.
Okay. Let's see. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that's central to your campaign?
Basically, is preserving our and reestablishing our language and our traditions. Our language is very important for who we are, and our songs are very important, because the songs were carried over when our ancestors came from the old country, and these songs encouraged them as they came through all the hardships they faced. And these are something that we need to continue on as part of who we are as Creek people. The songs, the language, our traditions, and that I don't know if many of them know that in years past, when we lost a loved one, that they would build grave houses on top of their graves. And I think there was a legislation that was approved of to that would be available to our families once their loved ones pass. That's part of our traditions, things of that sort. That's something that we need to hold on to, because it meant a lot for our ancestors, and we need to continue all that today. It's very important for who we are.
Okay. T.Y. Prohl, you made a post there, but I don't know if that's a question. You just put to be eligible to run for office. Could you phrase that in the form of a question that I could ask there, sir? Ms. Pickering, let's say you get elected. Do you have any legislation that you're going to bring in your first 6 months, maybe your first year? What is that going to look like, if we say that you're elected to this position?
Well, basically, I would like to see, like I said, stated earlier, looking into the needs of our tribal citizens, and they will take and it would take a lot of study on that. It would probably take the first year, but also have to remind people that any legislation, you would have to convince the other tribal councilman to support any legislation that any individual submits to be approved of. But that's one thing. Like I said, there's too many things that's going on in our world today. The cost of living. I know that many people have come through hard times because of COVID, and that changed the whole world, and even our world for us. And I just want to make sure, especially our elder people, I'm very compassionate on our elder people, that we take care of them as well as other families who are facing hardships today.
Okay. Let's see here. I'm still waiting on T.Y. Prohl to repost that question. He says he asked earlier in the chat, but I don't see it. If you could just repost your question there, TY Prol, in whole, I'll ask it. We've seen a lot of just like what we were speaking about earlier, attacks on the tribe and attacks on the tribal sovereignty in the future. What do you think the solutions are there, and from a legislative side, and what do you think that you'll be able to do if you're elected?
Well, hopefully that not just for myself, but all the council people would see that we'll have to initiate some tax codes for since that we do not have that this time for certain things like property tax, state tax, and items of that sort. That we need to work on that to get the codes in place, and hopefully that the majority of the council will agree that we'll work together on this and collaborate.
Okay. One of the cases that's related to this tax issue is a Strobel case that's at the Oklahoma Supreme Court now. Let's say that the Supreme Court of Oklahoma decides against the tribal citizen in that case, and it goes up and goes all the way to the Supreme Court of the United States. What do you think the ramifications are going to be for if the state of Oklahoma can no longer claim these income taxes from tribal citizens on tribal lands?
I think the state, I know that's what their main concern is right now, is a lot of that tax money, they will not be able to collect it. But with that money being collected, we could use it for our own benefit as a tribe, using these taxes to maybe do more economic developments in different of our regions, even on a reservation, even outside. A lot of this money that the state collects from us, they use it in a lot of ways. And we too, as a tribe, can collect the same type of tax and use it to benefit our citizens, as well as, establishing maybe some economic developments in different of our regions.
All right. Okay, we've got the question now. T.Y. Prol asks, do you think the lack of candidates and national council seats being attributable to most citizens being ineligible to run, do you support removing the blood quantum to run for office?
Well, that goes back to our Constitution, and that's one thing that anything that has to do with the Constitution, I leave it up to the citizens, because they have to have the input. We have to hear from the people to make any kind of changes. And the blood quantum, like I said, the Constitution is what allows a quarter or more to sit on the council. But like I said, I leave it up to the citizens and they make that decision. That's really not my call, but I always support whatever the citizens.
Well, would you sponsor legislation to get that amendment onto the ballot for citizens to vote on it?
Yes.
All right. T.Y. Prol asks, will you oppose adopting OTA plate pay compatible license plates? So I think what T.Y. Prol is asking you there is I don't know if you're familiar, but the state of Oklahoma switched over to this plate pay system where they are reading the tags. Do you support the tribe giving that information to them so citizens will get a bill, or are you in favor of us saying, no, we're not going to comply?
No, I'm not agreeable to that, because, we are on reservation, and a lot of these turnpikes are within our region. Mm-hmm. And I believe at this point, they don't have any of our data in their system to bill, because I've been through, I know how many turnpikes, and they've never billed me. Mm-hmm. And that because we're not in their system at this time. And I think that's one thing that the state is kind of urging now, that about the tribes. It's always about the tribes now at the state, because they're going to be losing money. And if they're going to come up with an idea, they need to sit down at the table with the tribe. If the money is going to be maybe a compromise between the state and the tribe, but with me, no, I don't believe that we should be, they should be taxing, collecting tolls off our tribal vehicles.
Okay. Is there anything that maybe we haven't touched on yet that you think is important to mention about any of these topics? We're at 20 minutes here, and I know we had spoke earlier and you said you could only do 30 minutes. If you guys are watching this, you have any questions, let's get them into the chat as soon as you can, because we're going to try to wrap up before 30 minutes for Miss Pickering has some appointments she has to get to. But is there anything that we haven't talked about that you think is important to get in?
I think basically the Indian Child Welfare Act, that's one of the concerns that were mentioned in a lot of our candidate forums, that, we need to protect our children. We need to, I know the state has had their hand in, placing our tribal children into non-tribal citizens' homes. And I feel like that we need to work on this and to be able to set up better guidelines that we can protect our children, that they'll continue to, stay in their culture, and that they'll not be able to be divided from their families.
What do you think the solution is there? Because sometimes you hear like the child welfare guys saying, we don't have enough Creek families. How can we try to fix some of those problems so that we can get more children with Native families?
I think, in times past, our tribal families, there's always been someone in the family unit that would take that child. And I think that we need to not just look at grandparents, but if there's an aunt or uncle or somebody that's willing to, take the child in, we need to look at all avenues to keep that child in the tribal homes. But that's how it was many, many years ago. Aunt or uncle will, take in a child that they know that it was best for them, whatever situation was in the home environment at the time, that we need to protect them and to keep them familiar, as a tribal family unit.
Okay. We've had some questions pop up here. T.Y. Pearl asks, do you support an arts and cultural donation like the school clothing donation program?
Yes, very much, very much.
Okay.
We have a lot of young people that has that talent, and we need to encourage to, a lot of them, they hold back, and a lot of them have something to offer, and I'm very supportive of that, to have a council of that sort, especially for our young students.
Okay, we've had another question pop up here. Oklahoma City native asks, is there anything you can do to help support getting probates done quicker? Currently, it can take up to 5 years to do, and the quickest is 2 years. And he's saying that's currently being done in the MCN Realty Department.
That's my understanding, that probate is a lengthy period, but I think that, to my understanding, for us here in the eastern part of Oklahoma, OMalley, they have to get all the land information from Realty, and I think that's where the backup stands, right there in the Realty office. I've had a lot of families say that they have to wait on Realty office to get it completed, all their information. So I think that we'll have to start with the BIA and the Realty department to state, why are they the holdup? Because I know that for a fact that's where a lot of that is being pending, is through the Realty office. And I think that if we would sit down and talk and find out what's going on, and hopefully to be able to resolve the issue. But Realty, I think that we need to start there.
Okay. Let's see. T.Y. Pearl asks, do you support requiring every public school within our reservation boundaries to have a Title VI JOM program?
I think it's important that we continue to have the Johnson OMalley in our school system. I know they receive a funding to help our students there in the school system. And I know many schools don't really do I guess, what they're intended to do for our students, to help them in tutoring and to provide maybe a laptop for them. It's important that we have them, because have the GOM in our school system, because they're the one, are the eyes for our children in the school system. And without them, we wouldn't really know what to do or what they need. But I think JOM's been around for several years, and that we need to keep them in our school systems. Like I said, some schools work good, some don't, but still, it's important that we have the eyes and ears for our tribal students.
Absolutely. We've had another question here. T.Y. Prola asks, do you support the ACE grant educational program?
Okay, can you verify the ACE program? I'm not familiar with that.
I actually don't know a lot about it myself off the top of my head, but if you don't know about it, that's okay. Like I would want to give you information on it, but I don't have it at hand on me right now, so I can't give it to you. But let's see here. So, but generally, you could say any of the educational programs that the tribe currently has, would you
Yes,
say that you support them, and they probably
right.
need to be expanded? Well,
Yes.
what's your opinion on the whole situation we've seen with Tulsa Public Schools and the state Board of Education getting involved in these schools and changing their curriculums, and including some curriculums that are probably non-native type, supporting curriculums? For instance, they recently announced that they're going to be including these PragerU curriculums in the schools, which are not don't support some of the things that Indian education, other things support.
Mm-hmm.
What's your opinion on that situation?
The state superintendent, myself, I think that he's more trying to control how our school system should teach our children. But one thing about with the Oklahoma history, it's important that our children know about our tribal history, because that's who we are. And we need to teach that to our children to get them better understand of who they are as individuals and their history of where they come from. Mr. Walters, the situation with the Tulsa Public Schools, to me, that's a sad situation there, because it's affecting the teachers. It is even affecting the students. And to me, it's kind of got out of hand, and I'm not in support of what they're doing. They need to listen to the teachers. They need to listen to parents, because they know their children and the teachers know their students. So they need to let them do their job. And if it comes down to different types of whatever studies need to be in the school system, they need to sit down and talk about it, not to order or demand this take place in the school system. They don't realize that they're hurting our students, and that we're there to educate them, and not to I guess you would say, put them in a situation where they're confused, a state of confusion for a lot of our students. We just need to really be in support of our school systems throughout Oklahoma. But like I said, to me, it's just gone too far.
Okay. Well, we are at 29 minutes, and I'm not seeing any more questions popping up here. You guys are having a good discussion there. I want to thank you, Ms. Pickering, for joining us tonight. And for you guys out there that are watching, we have a live wire with a Native Director, Jeff Palmer, on Monday at 6 p.m. That's the 11th. So if you guys want to tune in there, and we'll be taking questions from the chat there too. Next week is the election, so you need to go out and vote. In fact, I think yesterday, the 5th, was the last day to register. So if you're not registered, you might have missed the boat there, but you could check the election board's website to see that. And then the 13th through the 14th is early voting, and then the primary election is on Saturday. And I'll be doing a live stream on Saturday, so you guys could tune in and get the results there. I want to thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Mado, Chihichath, Lees.